Hello everybody, thank you for joining me in this webinar. And today I will show you how to fast track your CI/CD pipeline with Artifactory. So here is a bit about myself. So I'm Jan Chasing, solution engineer at JFrog. And today I will show you how important it is to have a binary manager in your continuous delivery process. So first, why would you need a binary manager? So here are some facts from the past decades to answer this question. So first, dependencies and packages management. So you might have been using for your Java dev Gradle or Maven or Ivy to build up from the ground your applications. So that's a great way to achieve this, but you might have been dealing with a lot of third-party libraries, and it's pretty hard to be able to track down all your dependencies and specifically the changes between different builds. The second point would be the service-oriented architectures and microservices. So the idea behind this is instead of having one huge application doing everything, you want to break it down into small, functional, and reusable components. So the drawback would be to have more binaries to deal with, and the deployment plan onto production would be more complex, as you'll have more binaries to deal with. The third point is the age-old methodology. So the goal is to release more often, feature by feature. And in general, you'll have one feature taken care by of one team. And in general, I mean, in your application, you'll have several features. So you will end up with several teams and so more people to deal with, to manage. And here are these different challenges that you may encounter. So first, how you can control your stack of dependencies, which means how can you be able to reproduce a specific build at a specific time, and how you can follow or manage all your binaries and your teams. And that's when Artifactory comes into play. So in this webinar, I will divide my demo into two parts. The first part will be, I will show you how to build your CI/CD process with Artifactory. So how you can integrate easily Artifactory and Jenkins, your CI server, and how you can manage your binaries lifecycle using promotion. The second part would be focus on how to build your binary tracking system using Artifactory's advanced feature like metadatas, API, and AQL. For the sake of this demo, I will be using Chef to deploy my artifacts. And for the visualization part, I will be using Dashing or Smashing. So a quick word about Dashing and Smashing for people that may not know these products. So originally, Dashing is an open source project which allows you to display information on dashboards, but it's no longer maintained. So, there was a fork which is called now Smashing, and for this demo, I'll be using Smashing. And last word before we jump into our demo. Sorry. So as an example, we'll take a standard organization with a dev team, a test team, and a production team. So for in each, I would say steps or phase, I'll be using a different repository. So a repository is the place where you store your binaries. So in dev, you will have two repositories, so dev and release, and in test, QA and UAT, and finally production. So to represent your binary lifecycle, we will use promotion. So promotion will be to copy your artifact or your build from a repo to another. So that being said, let's jump to our demo. Sorry. So we will start with Jenkins, how you can easily integrate Artifactory with Jenkins. So here I'm going to take a Gradle job, which will generate a simple job file. So here you can see the process to generate this jar. So the first step would be starting by checking out the code until making the artifact available for our QA team. So that's a pretty standard process. So you have build, deployment, and test. The last steps would be related to Artifactory. So publishing means to push your artifact and your build info into Artifactory. And the promotion, it's like I showed you before in the previous slide, it would be to move or copy your artifact from a repository to another. So we come to this Notion and builds in a few seconds, but before I would like to show you how easy it is to use to integrate Artifactory and Jenkins. So first, you have to install the Artifactory plugin for Jenkins, and then you'll be able to manipulate some new objects. So here, for instance, you'll be able to declare your Artifactory instance. Here I'm specifying the type of build, so I'm going to use a Gradle build. And finally, I will use a build info. So basically, a build info is a set of different informations, like the dependencies needed for your build, the artifact that will be generated, and the different types of variable. So we'll see this in a couple of minutes. Here in this line, I'm just saying that I want to capture this information for my build. So first step would be to check out the code. And then here you've got a stage to where I set up the Artifactory configurations. So here I'm gonna say that I'm gonna use the Gradle installation in Jenkins for my Gradle build. I will use a deployer, which means that my generated artifact will be pushed to my repository named Gradle dev. Here I will add a property to my artifact, so property called versions. I will tell you more about the property in the next presentation demo in the second part. And here I'm specifying the resolver. So this would be the repository where I take my dependency from. And here I'm just in the build step, I will use the run command to start my build or to trigger my build. And then here you will see that and then in this step I will be publishing my artifact and build info into Artifactory, so in one line. And then I'll be performing an integration test, and if everything goes well, I'll be promoting my build into another repository. So from Gradle dev to Gradle release. So here is the line to promote my build. And the last part would be promoting the artifact. But I'll come to this later as an introduction for my second part. Okay, so I'm just gonna launch the job. So let's take this version 16. So here, yeah, so basically the idea is to really take advantage of the Artifactory plugin. So you can see that we are using the DSL pipeline to integrate Artifactory into Jenkins. So let's wait a couple of seconds before my build end, and I will show you how easily we can switch from Jenkins to Artifactory in a single click. So just hold on a second. Should be pretty fast. Okay. So say oops. Sorry. So basically, well, I'm just going to take a few seconds. But these, when my build will be finished, and I hopefully it will be done in a few seconds. Okay, promotion. So now it's promoting my build. Okay, it's done. So here you will see that you will have these small icons, which will allows you to switch to Artifactory. Okay, if I click on it, I'll be redirected to the Artifactory. So first, I just have to log in. Okay. Okay, so here you can see that I'm in the build browser, in the build section of Artifactory. And here is my build info. So first you'll have this. So the first tab will be the general info. So you can see that the name of the build, which of the Jenkins job, which generated this build, the build ID, when it started, how long it took, and who triggered the build. The second tab would be more about the published module. So in a glance, you can see that I've generated this module. So actually it's one artifact, one jar, and my build required 31 dependencies. Okay, if I click on it, I will see that, okay, so I generated one jar, and it relies on 31 dependencies. So here you'll have the list of all your dependencies. So you can see the name and the version. So it's a great way, I mean, to be able to really understand your build and which jar, which artifact were necessary for your build. So in this way, you'll be able to, monitor your different build. And then you have this environment tab. So remember, I showed you before it's the capture command. So this is the result. So you have all the environment variables, so related to your build. So basically, it's information about your build, so the build number, the URL to the Jenkins, the path actually, and so on. And then you have the system variables, which are basically the variables of your Jenkins agent. So you have different informations, and among them, you have the Java version, which is pretty handy to be able to reproduce the exact same build in the exact same condition. And then I will show you another cool feature, which is the diff, which will allows you to compare your build. So here I'm in the build 52, and I will compare it with build 47. So here I can see that my generated jar or artifact is different. You can have a comparison between the dependencies, so nothing has changed. And you even have a comparison between the variables. So here you can see this, my build info, build number is different. And etc. etc. And then you've got this build info JSONs, which is some kind of BOM, a bill of material. So it's a recap of all the information I showed you in the previous tab. So here you've got the properties, the environment variables, and the list of the difference of your dependencies. So here I have my generated jar and the dependencies. So yeah, so that's a great way with this JSON file, you'll be able to see and to understand your build, and you'll be able to reproduce it. So just keep this one, copy it, and save it somewhere safe, and yeah, you'll be able to reproduce this particular build. So now I'm going to show you the TreeView browser. So basically it's you'll see some information about your artifact. So here you can see in this Artifactory repository browser that I'm in the Gradle dev local repository. And here on the right side, you have the general info. So the name, the path, its size. You'll see that it's possible to set up permissions on this specific jar. We'll have the properties tab. So basically, properties, it's an advanced feature of Artifactory. And the idea behind this is to add metadata or property to an artifact to be able to target it easily. You see, it's a powerful feature. But for now, just remember that it's some kind of tag that you apply to your artifact. And here, you can see that the Artifactory plugin added some metadata, so some new properties related to my build. So I can see it's the build number, the build name, and the build timestamp. Okay. And finally, you have the build section, which is really interesting because it makes the link between an artifact and its build. If it's been produced by build, see here, you can see that this artifact has been generated by the build 52. So here you will have a link to the CI server, to my Jenkins. But if I click on the number, I'll be redirected to the build section. And you've got the same kind of link with the dependencies. So I'll show you. So let's take this logback core jar. If I click on it, so I'll be back again into my artifact info with the same tab as you can see. And if I go to my build section, it's not produced, but this jar is actually used by 39 build. In my case, I'm just gonna, aggregate them by project, and you will see my build by the different builds that are using it. So mine is 52. So this is how in Artifactory you made possible it's possible to link a build to an artifact, and how with this build info JSON, with this form, you'll be able to have a complete understanding and view on your build. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to show you this, so the different repository that we will be using. So we'll have the Gradle dev, like on the schema, the diagram that I showed you before. So you've got the Gradle dev, Gradle prod, production, QA, release, and UAT. So if I go back to my Gradle, to my Jenkins job, you will see that at the end, we will be performing 2 promotion. So build promotion and an artifact promotion. So if we go to my Gradle dev here, you see that I've got my build. So here are my dependencies and my generated artifact, version 16. With the build promotion, which means to copy or move, it's up to you the artifact is. So if I go to my Gradle release, so you have the different dependencies, and here we will see my generated artifact. So that's what is a promotion, a build promotion. And then I perform an artifact promotion. So it's simply copying my artifact into another repository. So here you can see it. So let's see this into with some more detail. Okay. So if we go to the last step, so you can see that I'm not using any object. Actually, I'm going to call the API to be able to promote my artifact. So basically, I'm doing just two curls call, and the first one will be to copy my artifact from Gradle dev to Gradle release, and the second one is to add a new property to my artifact. So here I'm adding the QA.status property. So if I go to my Gradle QA version 16, I click on properties, and I will see my new property QA.status ready for deployment. And this is how you can manage your binary lifecycle. So now I will start my second demo. So how you can build a binary tracking system. So like I showed you, we'll be taking advantage of the properties. So the system will be this one. So first, with Jenkins, we'll be deploying all builds and artifact into Artifactory, and then we'll be updating the property, so adding the QA.status. So we'll be ready for deployment. Then I'll use a chef cookbook to retrieve my artifacts and deploy them on my different environments. And when it's done, I will be adding and updating some properties, saying, okay, so now I've done that I've done the deployment, it's ready for testing, and I will add the timestamp on my deployment. The next step will be the testing, which will test my artifact, and then report it using the API into Artifactory. And the last step would be using smashing to fetch the properties and display them on a dashboard. So if I recap in more detail the different steps, so first would be Jenkins to perform build promotion and copying the artifact to QA. Then comes in the chef cookbook to fetch the artifact, and it will apply these different properties by environment. So status timestamp, and in deploy timestamp. Then my test team will test and report the test using the API to update the properties, and it will update the status and status timestamp, testing, validated, and bug, other status. And when it's validated, I mean, we will perform a promotion, to copy the artifact to the next repository. And finally, I mean, I will show you how the implementation has been done in smashing. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the result here, my super awesome dashboard. So you can see that I created and generated the version 16 of my app back. So you can see that this is the status ready for deployment. And in the other environment, UHN prod, I've got version 15. Okay. So I will show you how you can follow your binaries through your different environments. So I'm going to use a chef cookbook to perform this deployment. So yeah, for the sake of this demo, I would just need the chef DK. I won't use a chef server as it's not really necessary and relevant for demo. So I will quickly show you the recipe. So I've got different recipe for QA, UAT, and prod, and basically it's going to be the same step. Here. So first I would install Java on my jar, download the binary from Artifactory. So here, I used a bunch of attributes. So in the real world, you would use actually a data bag, to store your different variables. So here I'm downloading my binary, I'm stopping my application, I'm starting it again, and then I will update the properties. So the property would be, I'll have, I will add the owner, change the status, so ready for testing, and I will update the timestamp and the deployment timestamp. And then just for this demo, I will show you, I've implemented a small web pages to be able to make the API call through a small web interface. So I'll show you this in a few seconds. Okay, so it will be deploy QA, recipe. All right. So deploy QA. Let's do it. So yeah, so my cookbook will depend on another cookbook, which will install a Apache HTTPD. It will be used for my web page. Okay, so it's executing the jar file. Okay, done. Right. So if I go to my quality gate, so this is the small web page. Oops, sorry, I got a small core here. Okay. So I'm doing my test on my local machine. That's why I got a core issue. Okay. So here you can see it's version 16, which in QA it's ready for testing. So what I'm going to do is change the status to testing. So yeah, if I go back here, you can see that it's ready for testing. So my cookbook updated my properties, and if I go back to my QA local repository and I refresh the page, you will see that the properties have been updated. So what I'm going to do now is to test it, to change the status. Okay, so now I've updated the status. Let's get back to Artifactory to check that. I reload my page. Okay, it's in testing. If I look at my dashboard, well, it beats the status has changed, which is, and you've got the timestamps of the deployment. Okay, I reload it, so it's testing. Now I'm gonna say I validate. So I validate my test. Okay. So first, I'm gonna update. So status will be switched to validated. I will copy it to the UAT repo, next repo, and I will add a new properties for UAT. So here, it's been validated, and now it's ready for deployment on my UAT environment. So this is how you can achieve, with this dashboard, Artifactory and a deployment tool, you can follow your binaries. So we'll continue to make the full deployment into production. So now I'm going to use UAT. Okay, so it's going to be the same step. So I'm going to install into UAT. Okay, so it's been deployed. Now I'm going to go to my UAT quality gate here. So it's ready for testing. If I switch here, my dashboard, now it's ready for testing. Perfect. On Artifactory, so here it's now validated. Sorry. I got all the status. And if I go to my UAT repository, I can see it now here. So you can see that it's ready for testing in UAT, UAT.status, and I've got all the info on the previous environment. Okay, so UAT is ready for testing. I will go to testing. Okay. Now it should be updated in a few seconds. Testing. Cool. So the deployment data has changed, the last update has changed, and I will perform the last step. So it will be validated. Okay. So with this, I will copy into the production the binary. Okay. So if I go to my prod here, sorry. Okay, so it's ready for deployment. And ready for deployment. And I will end with the deployment onto production. Which is the same, the same recipe. So here you see the complete, binary lifecycle using Artifactory, the API, using the metadatas, and some automation. Okay, so I think it's done. Yeah, so now it's been deployed into production. And finally, I will show you the smashing implementation. Okay, I'm just going to stop this. So basically what we'll have is we've got some kind of routine, which is called a job, which will actually, fetch the information from Artifactory. And specifically, I will fetch some, the tags, the properties. So for this, I will use the AQL. So the AQL is some kind of request. It stands for Artifactory Query Language, and it will allow you to perform advanced search. So here is a typical request, a typical AQL query. So you can see it's pretty close to the SQL syntax. So here you've got a name. I'm saying that I want to fetch this jar, which belongs to this repository. So this is the query to display the information onto the QA. I would say the QA panel. And here I'm just saying that I want to fetch the name, so the name property, the updated field. So these two fields belongs to the general info, and with the @ I will specify the properties that I want to fetch, QA status, QA deploy, and owner. So basically, yeah, my routine, which my job will do this query for me. and then we'll display the results onto the dashboard. So I will quickly show you the sorry, the routine. Okay, so this is the routine. So it will be run every 10 seconds. So we will specify the JSON query, the AQL query, and for this demo, I just wrote a wrapper which I call AQL. So I'm just passing my my file and my environment, and I will get all the information that I will pass. I will create an array which will store this information. So here the version, status, deployment, last update, and owner. And then I will pass this array. I will send this array as an event to this one to the dashboard. And this is how you can achieve this dashboard. Okay, so this would be this slide. Okay, so I just showed you how to implement the dashboard using the AQL. So by the way, yeah, we have a checkout. If you're more interested into the AQL possibilities, check out the previous webinar. We had a webinar which explained more deeply how it works and what you can achieve. The query language. So as a conclusion, I would say that I showed you how easy it is to integrate Artifactory with your CI with Jenkins using the Artifactory plugin and the DSS pipeline. I showed you how you can manage your binaries and your builds, like cycle with the promotion in Artifactory, and how you can use the API and the AQL to automate your process, your continuous delivery process. And I will end with this. So this is how I showed you how universal is Artifactory. As you know, I use the Chef Cookbook, and it's possible. I mean, Artifactory allows you to store Chef Cookbooks, and dashing or smashing, sorry, is in Ruby, so you'll be able to store your routine into Artifactory. And then on top of that, I'll show you how different teams can be using Artifactory so to store their binaries. So this is it. So I'm done with my demo. So it's time for question and answer. So yeah, so I got some questions. So first question would be, aren't you duplicating your packages, copying them over from repository to another repository? Well, actually, not really. So in Artifactory, so it uses a checksum-based storage, which means that whenever you have a new artifact into Artifactory, it will be saved on the file store using a checksum. So a checksum will be performed to identify your binary, and in this way it will be unique. It won't be duplicated when I copy. So I showed you that I use the copy, and in this case it will add it will be in the database. So in the database we'll be managing the entire Artifactory configuration, and we'll be storing the metadata. And in this case, when you copy, you won't duplicate your file on your file system, but you will add a new line in the database, in the table, a new block, and that's it. Okay, so second question would be, how do you handle Maven project? So first, we do handle Maven projects, and it's really similar to the Gradle build. So just check out our wiki, which is publicly available, and you will have all the information to handle the different. Oh, I'm sorry. To handle the different build. So here you can see we handle Maven build, and the difference would be using new Maven build instead of a new Gradle build. So yeah, so just to let you know that we also support Docker build and Conan build. And the last one would be the generic build. So just check out our wiki page and we'll have all the information. And then, yeah, just to let you know that when we perform a promotion, so we copy an artifact to a repository to another repository. So when you're using Maven, you may have, a snapshot version and then a release. So you will have to change the POM file to suppress the snapshot. So for this, we have another cool feature, more advanced feature, which is called a user plugin, which will allows you actually to perform a new action, a specific action. So basically, and in a few words, a user plugin is a Groovy script that you write and that you install on your Artifactory, and it will be triggered at a certain time. So here, it will be your user plugin will actually, just going to show you the page. It should be in build, promotion. So during a promotion, it will change your POM file and replace, it will perform a copy and then change your POM file from snapshot to release. And that's how you can you can reproduce what I did with a Maven project. And so I've got the last question, which is how to purge your artifact. Okay, so to purge the artifact, you've got different solutions. So you can use, the UI to delete the items, or what you can do is to use an AQL script, an AQL query, to select the different, the different version that you want to delete, and you will use another cool tool, which is the JFrog CLI, the JFrog command line, and you will be able to to use this query, your query, to select the artifacts you want to purge, to delete them. So basically, it should be something. I had a script, I think. Yeah, because I've been using this script during my test. So this is the script that you would be using to delete. Okay, so this would end my webinar. Thank you for attending my webinar, and I would say have a good day and see you later. Bye-bye.